The Day of the Bank Robbery, the story of the first bank heist in America by Jesse James. February 13th of every year marks the anniversary of the first bank robbery in history, and so some people consider it the World Bank Robbery Day. But how did this date become the official date of all bank heists? It's because of what happened in 1866, when one of the most notorious outlaws in American history, Jesse James, robbed the Clay County Savings Association in Liberty, Missouri. This marked the beginning of bank robberies, not only in America, but around the world. Today, we will take you back in time to February 1866 and tell you the story of the first bank robbery in America. Welcome to our channel. Don't forget to subscribe and press the bell icon to never miss an upload. Let's begin. In the early hours of February 13th, 1866, several men armed with rifles, shotguns, and pistols rode their horses to the Clay County Savings Association located in the town of Liberty, Missouri. The bank had just opened and customers were busy conducting their daily transactions. When the men barged into the bank and announced a robbery, the stunned silence that followed allowed them to gather around the frightened customers and bank employees, bind their hands and feet with rope. Then they began rummaging through the drawers and cabinets looking for money. Among them was a 24-year-old man by the name of Jesse James. Jesse was known for his skills as a sharpshooter and his ability to intimidate his victims, thanks to his piercing blue eyes. They looked like ice-cold gems, making people shiver at the sight of them. People would often say those eyes could freeze a man's soul. To put everyone at ease, he took off his hat and placed it on the counter to show that he was unarmed. Then he turned to the crowd, and with a soft yet firm voice, he told them they would be all right if they cooperated and no one got hurt. One of his accomplices collected all the banknotes and valuables he could find, stuffed them in a bag, and walked out into the street. When everything was ready, they tied the bank's employees and customers together and blindfolded them. Then they forced them to lie down on the floor. As they were leaving, Jesse ordered the getaway driver to shoot one of the hostages in the leg to prove that they meant business, and there was no way of escape. Then they disappeared into the vastness of the Midwest wilderness, laughing gleefully while riding their horses. When the dust had settled and the hostages regained consciousness, they discovered that the bags of money were gone. Someone had taken more than $3,000, the equivalent of about $70,000 today. News of the Liberty, Missouri bank robbery spread rapidly across the country. People were shocked that someone would dare rob a bank, something that had never been heard of before. As you can imagine, law enforcement officials were eager to catch the culprits and bring them to justice. They launched a massive manhunt, combing through the wilderness in search of any trace of the outlaws. However, as days turned into weeks, the trail grew cold, and the outlaws seemed to have vanished into thin air. People started calling the leader of the gang Jesse the Fox, because he managed to fool everyone, including the police. It seemed as if he had outsmarted the law once again, and so people started to view him as a folk hero, even though he was wanted for multiple crimes, including murder. A few months later, Jesse James would team up with his brother Frank and several other outlaws to form one of the most notorious gangs in American history. Together, they would go on to rob banks, trains, and stagecoaches, becoming wealthy beyond their wildest dreams. However, their reign of terror would come to an end. In 1882, when Jesse was betrayed by one of his own gang members and shot in the back by an undercover police officer. Despite their demise, the James Younger gang became legendary figures in American folklore. Their names synonymous with the art of the perfect bank robbery. Their story has been told and retold countless times in books, films, and TV shows. Even today, people are fascinated by their daring exploits and their ability to outsmart the authorities. But the real story of the James Younger gang is far more complex than the Hollywood version. Their crimes were not just about robbing banks, but also about surviving in a world that was constantly trying to destroy them. These men were outlaws, yes, but they were also victims of circumstance. They grew up in a time when the American government was corrupt and the law did not protect its citizens. So they took the law into their own hands and became the ultimate bank robbers. Jesse James was born in 1847 in the small town of Kearney, Missouri. His father was a Baptist minister, and his mother was the daughter of a wealthy landowner. From an early age, Jesse showed signs of being a natural leader. He was charismatic and intelligent, but he was also impulsive and violent. When the American Civil War broke out, Jesse joined the Confederate Army and fought against the Union troops. He quickly gained a reputation as a skilled fighter and a ruthless killer. After the war ended, Jesse was left with nothing but his gun and his wits. He was a former Confederate soldier without a country, and he refused to surrender to the Union. Instead, he turned to crime and became a bank robber. His gang consisted of his brother Frank, along with a group of loyal friends and family members. Together they planned and executed some of the most daring bank robberies in history. They hit banks, trains, and stagecoaches, stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars in the process. But their crimes were not just about stealing money. They were also about survival. The American government was offering a reward of $10,000 for Jesse's capture, dead or alive. And the law was on their heels all the time. They were constantly on the run, hiding in caves and abandoned houses. One of the most famous members of the gang was Cole Younger. He was a former Confederate soldier like Jesse, and he was known for his skill as a sharpshooter. Another important member was Bob Ford, who was Jesse's cousin. He was a talented criminal and a master of disguise, but he was also a traitor who would eventually betray Jesse and end the gang's reign of terror. The gang's reign of terror finally came to an end in 1882. Jesse was betrayed by Ford and shot in the back during a botched robbery. He died a few hours later, and his body was buried in a shallow grave. His brother Frank survived for many years, but he was eventually captured and sentenced to life in prison. Some of the other members of the gang were also imprisoned, but others escaped and lived the rest of their lives as outlaws. The James Younger gang may have met a tragic end, but their story lives on. They have become legends of the Old West, symbols of rebellion against the corrupt government. Their story has inspired countless books, films, and TV shows. And their names are still synonymous with the art of the perfect bank robbery. As for Jesse James, he may have been a ruthless killer, but he was also a victim of circumstance. He was a product of his time, a former Confederate soldier who refused to accept defeat. He was a leader, a criminal, and a folk hero, all rolled into one. And his story is a reminder that sometimes the line between good and evil is not as clear as we like to think. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give us a big thumbs up. Most importantly, if you want to be the first to know when we upload new videos, click the subscribe button so you won't miss another exciting episode. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.